who are have a pleasant day today. We are going to have a wonderful section about artificial intelligence, which is a major topic in the current era, which has become an academic subject in our institutions. After development in major fields of different psychological or statistics or any kind of variety, various kinds of fields where the is machine is um, handcuffing the human. We were thinking about the human since till the 19th century. Only humans was the um, only character which was coming into our mind. But in the current scenario, we are thinking about the another, like the computer world, where which is overtaking or chasing into the field. So in the new arena, we can discuss about the artificial intelligence, how it is overtaking, or how it is along with the human, how it is um, conquering the matters, how the matrix is involved, and how this is connected to the technology, how we can connect our studies, our conventional studies to the um, current and future studies in the artificial intelligence. We have our relevant guest, um, Sir, Sir Rahul Reddy Vemireddy is here. He is the senior software engineer in the Microsoft since 2019. He is working in the Microsoft, and he was also working in uh, a startup, various other companies also, and he completed his bachelor's in Indian Institute of Technology, Varanasi. Um, we are very excited to be you in here in EDUCINE. Welcome you, sir. We welcome you, sir. A warm welcome, and I invite you to the session, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hi. Everyone understands English? Yeah? Apart from English and Hindi, I can only talk Telugu. It's the only South Indian language I can talk. Okay? So, are we good? We can start? Can you change the slide? Move. Okay. So, we'll keep it little interactive, okay? I'll be asking some questions also in between, okay? Feel free to answer. So, as you said, like, graduate from IIT BHU back in 2011, and then I worked with a couple of startups. I visited Kerala like so many times because one of my friends used to be in Kerala. And over the years, right, like initially there's a lot of effort on getting a lot of data together, right? So now with the advancements in technology, now you're able to compute so much that you're actually able to achieve all those dreams that the computer scientists had, like, you know, hundreds of years ago, or at least 50, 60 years ago, of how a computer should behave or could potentially behave like a human, right? So some of it is already achieved. Now, I don't want to go technical into how that's all done, but I want to focus mostly on the applications, right? Like how your career can be focused on, like, you know, by learning how to use this AI, okay? So we'll focus on that. before that, we'll start with some questions, right? Uh, let's talk about a few groundbreaking inventions that happened before, which changed human life forever. Okay, let's quiz. Feel free to answer this question. Okay, so what is that invention which kindled which kindled, yeah, during the dark age? After that, we call that age itself completely different. Any answer? Any guess? Huh? Sorry? No, no. Yeah, fire, right? So in dark age there was no fire. You had, if it is in the evening, you can only live in the tropical regions. You can't go to the northern regions of the world and live there because, like, northern regions of the world, they didn't even have sunlight for like 20 hours a day, right? So fire was one of those inventions which changed the age forever. And then, I think it's not visible so much. So tell me about that invention which changed the way you move completely.
Please place your hand down without covering the.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is it better? Okay. So, what is that invention which has changed the way you move completely? Correct. Right? Wheels. So, without wheels, you couldn't potentially think of going anywhere else. Correct? And then, again, so I want maybe an answer from someone new. So what is that invention, groundbreaking invention essentially, right, which helped us live in a sustainable manner? We can move away from, so you don't need to worry about hunting anymore, right? So you could potentially live somewhere. What is that invention which made it possible? Yeah, agriculture, right? So before agriculture, you're always wandering around, correct? The only people who survived without agriculture were Russians for a long time, right? Because it's so cold, they couldn't do agriculture in their areas. So with agriculture, you're able to live in much sustainable. And then something is much more recent, right? This is that invention which actually connected all of us. What's that? Internet, right? Before internet, you couldn't meet anyone. Internet, telecom, everything, right? Mostly, internet was perceived as one of those telecom industries inventions, right? So, let's go. Now, finally, it's okay. Finally, what is that invention which is now assisting all of us? No, Google is just like, it's a company. What is that invention which is actually assisting each and every one of us, knowingly or unknowingly? AI, right? I'll give you examples. In your phone, now you have AI, right? So, in your phone, now you have, you can actually ask your phone to filter all the photos of you or someone else in your family, or in fact make a video, right? Phone, like if you have an iPhone, I don't know, Android does it or not, it suddenly comes up and says that, hey, see, here is a bunch of photos, and then automatically create a video of that, and then now you can actually share it with someone else, right? If you had to do this, it's essentially a full day task, right? Which AI is actually doing it for you, even without you putting any thought into it. One example. Second example. Now let's say you want to go and purchase something on the internet, right? and you type something and then you misspelled it, right? Or even more complex example is, let's say you search for Apple on Flipkart, right? And based on your previous search patterns, it would prefer to show you a phone instead of showing an apple. You get what I'm saying? Right? So this way, without you knowing, AI is already helping you. You getting what I'm saying? Right? So AI is not something like super complex, it's not so alienated anymore, right? It's already part of our life. So what is AI? AI is artificial intelligence is essentially that ability of a computer or any machine to come and behave or imitate an intellectual human behavior, right? That means people who are working in AI, they would feel satisfied if a computer comes to you and and behaves exactly like how you would behave. You getting what I'm saying? Does it make sense? So in future, maybe it's highly likely, it's possible that there is a presentation and AI is giving you the presentation. And maybe 30 years from now. We never know. Right? And it's highly likely it's possible. Right? So now what are the challenges currently AI is solving? Right? So let's start from there. Now we understand what is AI. Any questions here? No? Okay. So we understand what AI is doing, right? What is the challenges that AI is specifically solving right now? It's currently solving two types of problems. One, it is the repetitive tasks, right? In the previous example that I gave, where you going and searching photos of someone is a repetitive task. You do it once. You don't want to do it anymore, man. You just done it. It is such a boring task, right? But rather you tell AI, go and find all those photos of this person, right? In future, I mean, my ideal scenario would be AI coming and doing my taxes, right? Such a boring task, right? So, that would be something interesting, right? So, and that is something I'm sure someone is going to solve, okay, in future. And second is the creative tasks. Right now, with the latest advancement of AI, it's called the generative AI, okay? So generative AI is where you give a bunch of stuff, instructions, it goes and generates content for you. That makes sense? Have any of you heard about ChatGPT? Yes, raise your hands. Any one of you use ChatGPT quite a bit? Great, right? So now this is where it is. Right? This is where AI has already reached people. Correct? So now ChatGPT is one of those generative or creative way of using AI. Correct? I'll give more examples. And here's all the areas where AI is used already. Right? I'll cover each of these a little deep. And gaming. So one of the first introductions for AI or the capabilities of AI that were introduced when it came to the limelight was in 1997. Yeah, in 1997, there was an AI supercomputer called Deep Blue. It's created by IBM, right? It's called IBM Watson. So it went and have beaten this chess champion called Garry Kasparov. This was in 1997, right? And computers are not like anywhere close to what they are right now. And during the time, it actually went and beat this guy, and he was the world champion already in chess, right? And that brought AI to the limelight. That this can actually do this. And Gary's comment for that was like, otherwise people are generally afraid of me when they come to play chess with me. Maybe it's not afraid of me anymore. That's why it's able to beat me, right? So, and then after that, Google's AI called DeepMind, this went and beat this game called Go, right? And there was a very famous Go player, South Korean player. It went and defeated this guy in Go, right, in 2006, 2007. So, 2006. So 2016, not 2006. 2016 is when it actually went and beat this guy. And Go is way more complex. Way more complex, right? Chess, it's only 8 by 8 square and then you have only limited combinations. But Go is like billions of moves possible in every move that you make, right? So it went and beat. So now, and then if you actually look at any game that you play, right, it's so accessible that any game that you play, you can essentially use AI and play against it, and highly likely you get defeated by that AI, right? So now what is the purpose of that AI there? Is to make you, is to challenge you to think beyond what you're otherwise thinking, right? It is not, its purpose is not to defeat you every time. If it's just defeating you every time, then it has defeated the purpose of its creation, right? It just like challenges you enough, think in a way that you are becoming a master of your own, that game. Does it make sense? Yeah? So let's move on. So one of the very interesting applications of AI is in photography now. Okay? So I'll show, so it's visible, right? So, so you see, so this bride wanted to pose as an astronaut. Okay? Weird thought, right? Super crazy thought. And you know how much time the photographer took to generate this image? Just 30 minutes. That's it. With AI, right? If he had to do it by himself, it would have taken, like a professional photo editor would have taken a day, essentially, to do this, right? Now if you had to do, so how can you use AI here? Is if you can use these tools, you can increase the amount of work that you can accomplish in that time, right? So that's how you can use AI to do what are you doing, right? So now before AI world, the same photographer would have given only one photo of the bride, or maybe 5 photos of the bride, saying, hey, this is what would happen. Now with AI, he can essentially create like 300 or 400 similarly, and then you can give to the bride, right? So he's essentially increasing the amount of work that he could provide, right? I'll show, I'll give some links like towards the end, like what all you can use. So this is essentially one of the OpenAI's like ChatGPT company is called OpenAI. So they created another application called DALL-E, D-A-L-L-E, right? So with that, you can give some prompts, you can generate some images, and it is little advanced that you can also select an area and then create your own image. You can add your own image and all of that. You can remove certain image and everything, right? So you can try that, right? It's called DALL-E, okay, DALL-E, and it's very interesting, right? You should go ahead and try. And then some crazy stuff, right? Star Wars, anyone Star Wars fans? Okay, so maybe let me show something more relatable, right? If you want to make a cat as a bride, again, it's another like 20 minutes work, essentially, right? You need to search a few different prompts and then modify a little bit. In 20-30 minutes, you can actually generate an image like this, which would otherwise take a day if you're a professional, or a month if you're an amateur. Does it make sense? Yeah? Yeah. So what is the opportunity here, right? If you are a photographer, if anyone around you is becoming a photographer, right? Nowadays, like there was a time like 4 or 5 years ago, everyone wants to become a photographer, right? Because there was like suddenly so much technology improvement over there, everyone wanted to become a photographer. So then with your phones itself, you can actually generate something of the sort. And you can focus mostly on the photography, which is the most interesting aspect. editing is very boring, right? It's such a repetitive task. So you do the editing once and you can apply all of that to the rest of the images. Does it make sense? So that way, it's helping in both repetitive and creative job. So the reason why I actually picked these as examples is that anything you're going to do, any job you're going to pick up, right? AI is going to come and help you especially to take care of those repetitive or creative jobs, right? It is only going to make you more efficient in doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Yes? So like Mercer was coming and asking, have you watched this movie called Matrix, right? Where machines come and overtake people and then, there's an apocalypse and everything, right? I don't know. I don't think that's even like remotely possible, because if you're going to make those machines, you can actually make machines which can fight against them, right? You getting what I'm saying? So I think like it's general anxiety that generally comes, whenever you talk about stuff like this. Don't worry about all of that, right? So even during industrial revolution, there was so much anxiety in people, there was so much revolt saying, hey, these industries are going to take my job away, right? Are you jobless? No, right? Same way. You're going to become more productive, and in fact, you're going to see that you're going to do way more things which would have otherwise not possible for you to do, right? It's more of a skill up. So now, most of the emails, most of the blogs, and also a lot of your customer service calls, right? They're all driven by AI now, right? So now, how it has helped? Previously, if you have ever had to call a customer service guy, right? Wait for 20 minutes just to get an answer, right? And then answer, if it's an edge case, forget about it, right? So they're going to call, escalate, and then that person's going to come, and then in between your phone will get disconnected, and then you have to call again, you have to go through the entire ordeal, right? So now, with AI, with your WhatsApp, you can essentially search something random, right? It's going to match that exact phrase and give you the right answer, right? So that's how AI is helping all of us in doing what we're doing, and essentially it's making us more efficient. Okay? Content search I've already covered. Automobiles. One of the major breakthroughs in AI in automobile is through self-driving, right? Everyone knows about self-driving vehicles now. I think it's very far in India. Still, the AI technology in there actually helps in avoiding many road accidents, right? So that's one of the major advantages of the technology or AI in automobiles, right? And then agriculture. Now, there are drones right now which are already in production, which can actually go and identify if a certain fruit or a vegetable is already ripened. Only those ripened fruits and vegetables it actually goes and plucks, right? And even after that, there are machines through image processing which can actually discard or grade vegetables based on their quality, right? And does it at such a speed that none of us would want to do it. It is such a repetitive task again, right? So, and then healthcare. Healthcare, there's one post that I've actually recently seen about angiography, right? If you give an angiography report to 3 different doctors, the same report, they'll give 3 different results, right? Now, however, if you actually give this to AI, highly likely with very little variance, it can actually give the accurate or at least the same answer, right? It's more predictable. You know what I'm saying? So there, it's not replacing their job, but at least it will help them to get to the right conclusion, much sooner than later. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the uses of AI in healthcare. Apart from that, there is a lot on the clinical trials, on the research, on identifying and creating patterns of the medicines, right? The formulas and everything. So all these things are different advancements in AI which you can focus on as you are applying for these jobs. Hiring. So hiring is again like, as recruiters, a lot of people would go and match a certain profile with a job description, right? This is such a boring task. At the same time, it is such a challenging task because as recruiters are generally not technical, right? Now they have to go and match. Now they need to understand the meaning or match those two profiles. Like highly like it's kind of what do you say? When the recruiter is not technical enough, they can't even match those profiles like properly, right? Unfortunately, engineers don't go and do recruitment jobs, right? So, which essentially increases the overall burden on the interviewers to go and do the interviews, right? And if you end up seeing 80% of the interviews end up getting rejected, right? So with AI, I know in fact a company which actually have reduced it around 30%, right? So 70% of the matches that they do, they actually match with the company's profile, and the remaining might not be related to the company itself or like they could not be cultural fit and so on, right? And then education, I don't need to give a lot of brief about this, but as you see, nowadays a lot of content is being generated from the AI itself for students to actually understand the subject, right? It's all taught in a different way. Social media content, it's all AI, right? Blog posts, you can take, reels, and the content in the reels is AI. And in fact, very soon you're going to see something called, different kinds of animations. If you're going to look at reels, they're going to happen pretty soon. There's a new company called Runway ML. With your phone, you can actually convert anything that you're seeing as an animation or a different kind of artistic content just by shooting from your phone, right? It's all captured live. So that's something interesting. So now, and we only touched the tip of the iceberg, right? So it's only this part we have touched, the top part. 90% of the work is still pending, right? And if you see, as you are looking for careers, right, it does not need to be in AI. In whatever you're doing, you can just use AI to be more efficient in what you're doing. You getting what I'm saying? Right? It could be, in fact, if you're a teacher, you can use AI to become a better teacher. For your students, they can actually grasp more from the content generated from AI, right? And let's say, even if you're a social media content creator, you can actually create more content, right? And in lesser amount of time, and you can focus on generating more content, or doing something else in the meantime. So, the general concerns, as I mentioned earlier, that we get is what's going to happen to my job or what's going to happen to the world, when AI is going to grow so much. Generally, there's a big saying, right? So technology is never bad. It's what we make use of it defines it, right? Like for example, nuclear bombs, right? So or maybe bombs is not the right word, but nuclear fission, right? So nuclear fission could be used potentially to make bombs or to generate electricity, right? So it's the same technology which is used for both, correct? And same way, it is the same technology. So don't think about Terminator, okay? The Terminator coming and destroying something is far off, right? But right now, if you focus on using AI for your own stuff, you would be way better doing whatever it is than doing it by yourself, because it is already built on a lot of context, right? So till last year, what it was missing was context. For example, when you go and ask something to AI, it was a horrendous experience talking to my iPhone, right? Like Siri, if I ask something, it gives something else, right? But if I ask ChatGPT, something, it gives me something that is unexpected that I don't even, I would have not even thought, right? Nowadays, even if I want to put some money into stocks, first I ask is ChatGPT, hey, just tell me about this company, right? What are they doing? So based on its previous understanding about the company, it gives all that summary which I would have otherwise taken 2 days or 3 days for me to get. Again, if you're worried about job loss, right? Don't worry about it. It is just a matter of increasing your skills, right? AI-related skills to be more efficient in your job. Okay? Everyone needs people. Okay? It is not going to replace any one of us anytime soon. So you need to worry about it. But rather, if you could use these tools specifically, there are going to be a lot of tools like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is only one tool. Okay? There are going to be a lot of tools. And each of these tools are going to be specifically trained on data for a given industry. Okay? For example, one of these big aerated company drinks, aerated drinks company, they are building their own version of a chat tool. Okay? I can't name which one it is, but they're essentially building their own version of its tool for internal communication inside the company itself. Because such a big company, right? And there are so many people who are working in that company. Same way, something specific related to mechanical engineering and all of that, there is going to be a specific tool that's going to come up pretty soon, which is going to help people sitting in different locations to understand the same problem that's happening, and they could solve it just by looking at it in those locations, right? So keep a watch on all these tools, right? So what is interesting is that for these tools to get into academia, into your colleges, and all of that will take time, but essentially if you are aware, if you're searching online or if you are present online on LinkedIn, I am sure these are going to come up like pretty soon, right? And grab that opportunity to train yourself on the tool, right? It's going to be pretty useful. So let me So I'll show a short movie, okay? So this general trend about any technology that comes in, this is a good metaphor of a movie to kind of show the trend, okay? You might have watched this, but watch it again with this context. So what's fun watching without football in Kerala, right? I'll continue. Maybe yeah. It's not coming. Main video. YouTube. It's okay. It's okay. It's not bothering. It's okay. It's okay, some technical challenge. So let's continue from here. So you might have watched this movie called The Last Game. It's a very short, like 5-minute video. If you have ever watched, then good. So basically what happens is, it's a Nike ad where Ronaldo, Rooney, all these folks actually were playing. And suddenly this guy who introduces these AI or robots, which will come and play against these guys, they win every game, right? And then suddenly, after a while, they're going to beat the AI by doing something unexpected, right? And so consider that phase is more like the learning phase, right? Where you are doing something unexpected or you're doing something more interesting for yourself and beating the AI, right? So it's kind of the ramp up time, that's what it is. And that's what you need to focus on yourself, skilling up, and then you would thrive in doing what you're doing. Excuse me. Okay, yeah. So now what is the opportunity ahead, right, for all of us, especially for the world, right? I mean, India is still a country where we are very agile, right? We take care of a lot of things by ourselves, right? But if you actually look at the remaining rest of the world, especially the developed countries, they get disturbed, right? Let's see, even if they can't even drive in India, man, come on, right? They can't drive. Let's see if they can't even imagine driving in Kannur roads. Can you beat it? Right? Like in my previous company, this guy who used to head this company called Mattel, the Barbie dolls, right? This is the parent company is called Mattel. So he's driving with me, and then so Hyderabad, and then suddenly, bike guys come from here and there. He was like holding the dashboard and sitting like, hey, it's going to be an accident, right? And this is a very normal thing. And similarly, things are so streamlined over there, something is unexpected happening, right? They get disturbed. What is this, right? I don't want to handle this, right? Now, the advantage for us is that just as you know that this is a problem somewhere else in the world, you can actually solve it because it's not a problem for you. You get what I'm saying, right? Now, in fact, something as small as, let's take an example of healthcare, right? Now, there are these saline water that people get injected with, right? Now, in India or like anywhere in the world, there is only so many nurses, right? And it's a very common happening every single day that the saline water or that bottle becomes empty, and the blood goes back into that, right? It's a painful thing because after that they flush with the injection and everything. You put a small sensor there, right, and give them an indication that now it's over. Go and stop it, right? Then they'll easily come and stop it. You getting what I'm saying, right? So any of these companies who are trying to solve stuff like this, right, which is an actual problem, is something you should consider joining in future, because they are going to solve these things for a long time, and once some of these solutions are adopted, they don't want to change their vendors, right? Because like if one thing trumps everything else, it's convenience, right? Because every company or everything that you end up doing, it becomes comfortable for someone. Now they're okay to pay a little bit more, right? Otherwise, there is a lot of big headache in training my entire people to adapt to the new technology. You know what I'm saying, right? So you can focus on, let's say if you're solving for the world, you can focus on something, solving something, a big enough problem, or even a small enough problem for a good chunk of the world, and you're good, right? Now for India, or for most of the developing countries, most of these solutions don't work, right? We have enough population, we are like so agile, we are like so energetic most of the times when compared to the rest of the world. Now, example, right? the autonomous vehicles which are going to be built rest of the world, they are not going to work here, right? You need to build your own stuff. You know what I'm saying, right? This is an opportunity, right? If you're going to build or if you're going to work in that company, even if you're going to contribute to those companies who are actually trying to solve this, I am sure they'll get enough traction in India and nearby. And that problem which they're solving is far more superior, right? They would be used rest of the world. You get what I'm saying? Right? So it's an interesting and unique opportunity for us in India and the developing countries to go and solve these problems in a better way. Because we have much harder problems. Right? Does it make sense? So put your best to test. Okay? So if you have any ideas, this is the time. You go and implement. Or if you have any interest in a certain field, this is the time you go and contribute to that field. Right? You might not get paid like in a startup as much as you get paid in a big company right now, but you will get rewarded in the long run. Right? So focus on that problem that you want to solve. Don't worry too much about the money right now, and you'll succeed. Any questions? I didn't get it.
മലയാളം അറിയില്ല. അതായത് ഇപ്പോൾ AI ഫോട്ടോ മറ്റേ ഇതിൽ വന്നിട്ടുണ്ടല്ലോ പിന്നാന്ന്. അപ്പോൾ അതിൽ അമ്മക്കും അച്ഛനും മാത്രമേ പോകാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. കുട്ടിക്ക് പോവുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അതിന് ഫൈൻ വരുന്നുണ്ട്. കാരണം രണ്ടുപേർക്ക് കേന്ദ്ര പ്രകാരം ഈ AI ഫോട്ടോയിൽ വരുന്നുള്ളൂ എന്ന് പറയും. അതെങ്ങനെയാണ് പരിഹരിക്കുന്നത്?
So in future, what I'm saying will directly be translated into Malayalam by AI. Right?
So,
like it's same thing.
so he was asking, have you seen the AI cameras in the traffic? Yeah. So how the AI camera is excluding the child and just capturing the adults who are not wearing the helmet? So the government of Kerala announced that the child who is there in the bike, even though it's 3 persons, they won't be fined. So how is that happening?
Okay, yeah. So interesting is some things better not to understand what's happening, how it is doing. But still, see, age detection is a much smaller problem, right? It has been done like long ago. So it's mostly based on the features.
I need to translate.
Oh, okay. Let me put it crisp then. So basically, it's mostly based on the features. So how does AI work? Maybe let me crisply help you understand that, right? It's exactly how a kid behaves, right? How we behave. So we have neurons. When you do something, let's say I have a kid, I have a 2-year-old kid, okay? When I had to train her for potty, right? So what do? We used to give a chocolate. If you go and sit on the thing and do potty, you'll get a chocolate, right? Do it 3 times, 4 times. 5th time, she'll go and sit there and ask for a chocolate first and then goes for potty. You know what I'm saying? Right? It's exactly what AI does. You give it a bunch of stuff. You say that these are 5 different items. You are giving that to, it's called neural network, right? Kind of a brain. And then that remembers that whenever this kind of stuff happens, when certain features are identified, for example, let's say it has smaller jawline or maybe rounder face, smaller eyes, right? Some of these, some smaller nose. So it looks for most of these features appearing and then predicts that it's a child or not. That's it.
He was അവർ പറയുന്നത് ഏജ് ഡിറ്റക്ഷൻ, അതായത് ഒരാളുടെ വയസ്സ് എത്ര എന്ന് തീരുമാനിക്കുന്നത് എയുടെ ഒരു സിമ്പിൾ ടാസ്ക് അത് എക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന Actually, he was asking not the technical aspects of AI. Like in Kerala, there was an issue. Like since the AI cameras came for trafficking, it started to detect all the violations. The AI started to detect all the violations. So usually in India, there are a lot of people who can't
Violate.
afford a car, but they are having a child, a two. So if they go out, they need to take the bike and they need to take the child, and AI camera will detect the thing as a violation. If it was a police officer, the police officer have the morale or the ethics.
Correct, right? So that's why, yeah. That's why AI will always, at least right now, needs a human to go and say whether it is right or not. Does it make sense? Right? Because there is an emotional factor, as you said, which the AI misses right now. It's called the emotional context. You need a human to actually do its job correctly, in the right way. Makes sense. Huh. Yeah, don't take. So it can diagnose properly, but its advice might not be correct. Right? So, I mean, the point is basically it needs a human who is a specialist right now to actually give you an advice that is right for you. Right? It is only 80% correct. No, we can't be relying on 80% correct, especially on something that is going to decide whether you live or not. Right? Huh. ChatGPT is also only 86% correct. Right? So if you have actual data, if you actually compare, it's not even 86%, it's actually 77% correct. And beyond that, yeah. So beyond that, you need to train on your own data, just specialist data, to come to around 86% correct. We don't need to worry about it. So there's always specialists for doing the job, right? So its work is only to reduce their boring tasks. It is not to do their job. It's not to take away their job. It's only to reduce that task which is otherwise boring for them, right? Yeah.
I have a different question. Actually, after Industrial Revolution, what happened to human is we are very lazy to do physical tasks. Slowly,
we are what?
physical tasks, physical work we are very lazy to do.
Okay.
After Industrial Revolution, it
We
became
were
like
lazy even before also.
yeah, before also, but we were doing some lot of efforts. I mean, physical activities we were doing. But right now, there's no necessity. We are machines are there. It is doing the activities. So we are lazy. A lot of people generally we are lazy. But after AI, my question is thinking ability of human. I mean, thinking process will be done by AI. I mean, this kind of AI softwares or what is coming up. So thinking process will stop. Is it so? Do you think like that?
No, it doesn't necessarily need to stop. It will essentially what will happen is, as I said, right, basically, if you're trying to create one image, you can actually essentially create 300 images, right? So similarly, in fact, if you ask me, my personal opinion is you'll become in fact even more intelligent if you're challenging against AI. For example, let's say you're playing chess against AI, right? So previously, if you're playing chess against AI, you would have not done, you don't have to do such a great job to beat it. Now, you need to do such a great job, you're actually thinking way more than before to actually beat it. Getting what I'm saying? Right? So, and there are a lot of, like, there's a common misconception that when actually go and do some interesting job, everything is interesting there. Absolutely not, right? It's an interesting job because it's paying more, right? Or it has something, maybe 20% of what you're actually looking for, right? Remaining 80% is actually boring work. Now, if AI can do it for you, you can actually focus on the 20% in, like, in more installments.
So you're telling that we can do more creative thing like that.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Hi sir, I know that you are coming from a big MNC.
Okay.
So most of the students are not from computer science, and I am a computer science student. So I know.
I'm not computer science.
Yeah. Okay. So can you explain how the non-IT students and non-IT fields can cooperate with that IT companies like Microsoft, Google, Apple, etc. So what are the job opportunities for the law students and the HR students and non-IT parts of the IT company?
Non-IT parts of an IT company.
Job opportunities.
Maybe let me cover both. So there are IT parts of non-IT companies also.
Yeah, okay.
And also there is non-IT parts of IT companies. So first of all, I'm not like very well versed with the non-IT parts of IT companies. Yet I know that everything has, every role is necessary for a company to work. Law, in fact, there are like appointed doctors in each of these companies, right? And like there's accountants, there's everything required. So, so what's interesting is that if you are a very good lawyer, right? I doubt it if you want to work for Microsoft, but rather you will be running your own firm, right? And want to do consulting for a company like Microsoft, right? Because that's where the money is. So now, I think what is more interesting on today's age is there are companies which are actually doing the IT work for all these non-IT companies. You know what I'm saying? Right? And people who are the non-IT folks who are working in these companies are called the experts. So they'll help train the data, they'll help finding a lot of anomaly detections. Maybe I'll give an example, right? Like Google Maps. In Google Maps, there is the Indian team itself is around like 300, 400 folks who just sit and annotate or like basically tag a certain data is accurate or not. If it's not accurate, they actually go and rectify it, right? I mean, if you have used any other, or like if you have used Google Maps like 20 years ago, one example was like, one of my cousin was actually driving in Dubai, and then it showed a route where he has to cross the ocean to go to the other side, right? I don't know how that, that kind of an error happened, but now he can't do that with the car, right? Now maybe, on a ferry, someone has taken that car and it has tracked it during the time and said that this is another route that has recently laid out, right? Now, the human who is actually sitting and annotating the data, right? If someone, so it takes examples or cues like, now I've shown this route, now this person has not taken, or enough people have not taken, now that gets tagged in the system, and someone who's actually sitting there will go and check whether that exists or not, and they go and rectify it, right? Similarly, in law, there is a set of software, it's called e-discovery. So all the previous trials data is there in the database. So they need lawyers to actually go and tag the data. You know what I'm saying? So similarly, healthcare, right? So they need radiologists who actually go and tag the data, whether it's correct or not, right? And the process is interesting because they take inputs from multiple people to kind of see that, the input is correct or not, right? So like that. So everyone has a role in playing how to make this entire thing more efficient. So you can actually apply for those and then they're good.
Sir, this doubt just popped up when
Sure.
I saw the example which you showed
Yeah.
in that last game, where at the initial time the team was defeated by the aliens and later the human won. So in this time, when AI is in the initial phase and it is developing, so will there be a phase where it defeats human and later on we will be winning? And if it happens, suppose if we are thinking of that, should we be doing something in order to prevent that to happen, or should we be practicing, everyone should be practicing AI in their own fields? So what's your opinion on that?
So again, it's an opinion. So if it affects someone, as you said, it's going to affect the lazy people. Right? So, like, see, if you are proactive and if you are trying to do the maximum out of what you're doing, there's a lot of opportunity out there, right? You don't generally get quality diagnosis, you don't generally get quality content, you don't generally get like quality teaching. No, it's not that accessible. You know what I'm saying? With AI, even if we are maybe 60% efficient, it at least gets to 80 or 90%. You know what I'm saying? I think that is where we are currently heading. It's currently not heading towards like AI becoming 100%, but AI being at that 60-70% and then helping others to get to that 80-90% kind of thing.
So actually, I'm a person who uses Facebook.
Uh-huh.
So actually, we use Facebook every day. So sometimes we search a photo or like we follow a page. So the things are coming basically on like that page or that particular football. If we search some football news or football page, so my Facebook now if I search, I can get only football items or like related to football. So that's really something I don't like. So I want general things like everything. So that's a negative side, right? We can
Absolutely.
consider it's a negative side.
Sure.
That is a problem of AI. That is
Yeah.
coming because of AI, right?
It's not AI, it's essentially maybe a little bit AI. So, but it's mostly because of your previous searches, right? It's a data engineering problem in a way.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, I get
we-
what you're saying. Yeah, correct.
Like I.
It's called
search-
over optimization in the AI terms, and then it tends to get all those data based on the highest amount of like basically this, it's called bias, right? It gives a biased results based on the previous searches and all.
That's really
Yeah,
not
it's
good.
there.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Like, so even after unfollowing or like removing that, still the same thing is coming. So
Yeah,
it's all because of these things.
yeah,
That's a negative side. Yeah, that's what it is.
absolutely.
Thank you.
So, in educational perspective, how to develop these AI skills ourselves? Develop AI skills, how to develop this.
So, what are you doing currently?
I was doing currently studying data science
Oh,
online
okay.
degree.
You graduated.
I have already completed graduate.
Covered graduation. Okay. So now, if you're doing data science, if you want to build the AI skills, right? So there are two ways. One is to help AI becoming better, right? That's where there is like much longer scope. And the other is on the application side, right? So you end up using the tools like ChatGPT. In fact, there are going to be much more coming up. There's something called GitHub Copilot. Have you heard about it? Yeah. So if you're coding, based on what you're like, maybe the function name or stuff like that, on the previous thing, it actually predicts what you want to write, right? So that's another skill that you're kind of adding up, like how to use it. So like that, there are other stuff that's going to come up. Like you just keep an eye on it and then prepare yourself. That's it. I mean, there is no hard and fast answer here because it is changing so much. But like, it's better to keep it open that you can actually try doing those things as they're coming up.
preparing ourselves is enough for our future perspective.
Actually, he's asking about the skills.
Developing ourselves skills is much for future perspective.
What are the skills do we need to live in a
Is it for the certificates or something like this?
as a student? What are the
So,
Is it needed?
so see, basically, again, like it's a very broad question, right? I don't want to give some answer which is going to not justify it. So if you can actually focus on it, right? Now, what do you want to do is what, like, is going to define the answer for it, right? Now, do you want to be someone who wants to enrich AI, right? Then it's a different set of skills. Or if you want to use something like help a photographer edit the images, as an example, right? Or like you want to help autonomous vehicles, right? Another example. Then the skills that are required there are completely different, right? The biggest skill that is required over here is patience. It's a virtue, in fact, right? Because you need to try and learn a lot of things as you are going through, right? And that learning is never ending. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to come up. Keep trying and then keep using it in what you want to solve. That's all I can answer about it. Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Good evening. I not attended full of class, but I have a question about how to solve AI in global warming on climate solutions. AI in global warming and climate solution. How to solve AI?
Oh, how to use AI?
Global warming and climate solution.
Oh,
The study
okay.
is Bill Gates not says established 7 AI fundamental. How to solve this?
Got it. So, actually, this friend of mine, their company actually focused on this. They take satellite data, right? Based on the satellite data, they predict where is more, which areas have more pollution, right? Which rivers are getting dried up, which rivers are getting polluted, and also from the satellite images, they also do geological surveys using AI and all of that. So these are some examples which you can use to predict or analyze certain area and kind of use it for further investigation or further things whatever you want to do there.
ChatGPT 4 is like an example of general intelligence.
Uh-huh.
Example of general intelligence.
Yeah, you can say so. Yeah. Okay.
So we were talking about emotional practice of a human and a machine. So previously, nowadays robots are common. It is going to come a common machine which is in our human life also. So after coming these robots, whether they can take their own decision based on, I mean, emotion is not there. So is there any further research going on in the area of practicing emotion to the machine? Is there any further research option or is it going on in your company?
I mean, I'm
like that?
sure there is something happening because like I think everyone is, especially after ChatGPT, everyone is like behind AI only, right? Like, so, but maybe one way of thinking about this, see 95% of the current trading is actually done through algorithms, right? But what they actually lack is the emotional intelligence. Now, do these companies want to solve that 5% or just hire people who are actually emotionally good, right? To assist or basically use this data to make those decisions, right? So, I think the return on investment on that is not a lot. You can actually use people who are actually, they're going to work and essentially do that part of the job. I don't think even if they want to try to solve, it's not any time in the near future. I don't think, it's not an easy problem, man. I don't understand my wife still now, right? It's not easy. I don't understand, so many times, you don't even understand your own parents, right? If we can't understand and you expect the AI to understand, I don't think that's an easy task, essentially. Even Android Kunjapan took a lot of time to adapt to that uncle, right? Cool. Anything else?
can I ask a question? Can I ask
Yeah,
a
yeah,
question? So it's mostly from the policy framework. Most of the most of the analysts described AI as a new example of nuke or the atom bomb. And when atom bomb was developed, the countries joined together and they formed a non-proliferation treaty to don't misuse it. And the AIs came and but it's not under the government. It's by the private parties whose the thing is profit. So how will it affect especially the policy level?
I don't know. So I think the simple, sometimes it's just simple to say I don't know and then move on. Right? So I mean I have my own opinions, right? So but I don't think it's right to put across everyone. But say end of the day, as I said, technology is never bad. Right? It's about how we're going to use it, it's going to define it. I mean, does anyone know there are like 30 nuclear power plants in India? You know that? No one knows, right? I only came to know about it a year ago. When I was searching for how many nuclear power plants actually existed, when I watched this series called, this one like, Chernobyl, right? So I watched the series and I thought like how many nuclear plants are already there in India? And I found this one very close to my, like, I mean, it's not so close, emotionally close, right, in Tamil Nadu, right? And then, yeah, exactly, right? So, now, has that created a havoc? No, right? But the technology, if it's not there, then this would have not happened. It's all a matter of how we are going to end up using. It's the intentions of the people, how they want to use it, right? So, so now, actually, even when internet came in, there were similar comments. Have we vanished? No, right? So, yes. Now, what that is going to help, or so basically what it's going to create is more opportunity. It's like with every donkey you get a tail, right? So you get more opportunity to go and solve those specific problems to make the world safe. It's called the responsible AI. It's also a movement run by companies like Microsoft, Google, like together. They have created certain formulations, like cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a big field now, right? Similarly, responsible AI is going to be another big field. That how you're going to create and make sure that those regulations are being followed in these companies or in anyone who's going to do or detect if something is going beyond and so on. Like that.